play a 3-minute video that these are the steps that the buyers would see, right? Not as an agent necessarily, but what the buyer would see, right? Or has to go through. So let me play that video. It's under our LJ Realty Team.net under education training, agent training. All the way on the bottom it says buyer side 11 steps. When you're buying a home, there are 11 steps to closing. Step number one is the pre-approval. Pre-approval is a letter from your bank stating how much you qualify. You should shop around with at least 2 or 3 different banks to see who gives you the maximum amount and what interest rate. And once you know the amount, you can go to step number 2, which is finding the property. And you can find the property with a realtor, licensed realtor, which we highly recommend, or you can do it online yourself as well. But with a realtor, as a buyer, you should never pay them any commission because they should be getting paid from the seller's side. And there's also a fact that there are about 10 viewings that person does before making an offer, which brings us to the step number 3, submitting an offer. For submitting an offer, you want to submit your offer, the best offer you feel for that particular property, with your pre-approval letter and proof of funds. So step number 4 is offer accepted. Once the listing agent calls the buying agent, telling them, hey, the offer has been accepted, you can move forward to step number 5. So step number 5 is the home inspection. And home inspection is paid by the buyer, which is you, to inspect the property to see if there's any defects in the property that was not disclosed by the listing agent. So you always want to do a home inspection once the offer has been accepted and before going to the contract. And typical fees for the home inspection is around $500 for a single family house in New York. Step number 6 is going under contract and having your earnest deposit ready. So when you're going under contract, this is after the home inspection has been done and there were no issues, you're going under contract. And when going under contract, you, the buyer, have to sign the contract first and give it earnest deposit, which is the security deposit stating that you're serious about the transaction. So step number 7 is the home appraisal. Home appraisals are ordered by the bank once the seller has also signed the contract. And this home appraisal, they do it to see and compare that if you're paying the property price for $500,000, the bank wants to verify the property is actually worth $500,000. And they compare that with an independent contractor. And step number 8 is the title report, which is a report that gives you all the information, history of your ownership, property's ownership and zoning, and more details about the property going back many, many years. So this is ordered by your attorney after going under contract. Step number 9 is your bank commitment. And after a banker reviews all your information, all your pay stubs, all your tax returns, and then they committed to the loan, they will provide you a letter saying that, hey, this is the bank commitment, and they will close this deal. Step number 10 is your final walkthrough. And this final walkthrough is usually scheduled once the closing has been scheduled, and typically 24 hours before the closing. So this way, this is your final chance to look at the property, view the property, and see if there's any defects. So always do this before going to the closing table. Step number 11 is the closing. The day finally has come. Always verify all the amounts are correct with your certified checks with your attorney. You sign the documents, get the keys. Congrats, you're a homeowner now. All right, guys. Well, that's the a video for the homeowners, right? For the buyer side, what they see. So this list right here, we're gonna go through is actually what the realtor would have to go through in order to close a deal, right? So let me just make this bigger. So step number 1 here is basically prospecting, right? In your KV core, usually when you're a brand new agent, you have 0 clients there. So our, goal is to build clientele in there. So, you want to add everyone to the CRM. It could be from your sphere, it could be from your online advertisement on social media, it could be OpCity, it could be Zillow, or any other advertisement that you want to use, the postcards, any type of leads that you get, you want to add it to KV Core and build your database, right? You want to add as many people as possible.
And on top of that, you want to set up alerts and always, keep up to date with the market. So as a realtor, if someone is looking for one family house in South Ozone Park or one family house in, in Bronx and Westchester, doesn't matter where it is, you want to make sure that you actually know what's on the market, right? And the best and the easiest way is through our KV Core, setting up alerts for them, right? And then you can set up alerts for yourself if you want to look at, any area that you prefer, right? Just to gain some knowledge in the beginning. But if you have enough clientele and you have 10, 20 people set up alerts all over the place, that should be more than enough. But the point here is to actually, be on KV Core and know your market, right? Follow up religiously, setting up alerts and not following up after a week, 2 weeks. Hey, the customer is not, responding to me, whatever the case is. It's our job to actually follow up with them, right? This could be, on weekly basis. You just have to be consistent. It could be on daily basis. You can, skip a day, skip whatever your schedule is. Just be consistent with it, that you want to follow up with your clients. Otherwise, if you're not following up with them, they're going to go with someone else who is, right? So once you are following up with them, they will eventually tell you, hey, I want to see this property. So step two is to show as many properties as possible, right? You want to take them to open houses. You always, like I made a video the other day, you want to be with them at the open houses. You don't want to lose that client, right? Because when you're sending them to open houses by themselves, there's a chance that the listing agent is not there and their assistant or their other buyer's agents are there from the same brokerage, and they're trying to take those clients so they can make the full commission themselves and then leave you out of it, right? So always be there at the open houses with your clients. You can schedule private viewings, again, with, depending on your buyer's schedule. If they cannot make it to the open houses, you want to schedule it according to their schedule, right? So you have to do this a lot. Just for your knowledge, there's some agents that have showed over 100 properties to one client and then close a deal. And the same agent has showed only two properties to a different client and closed the deal. Okay. So that luck has to be there. Everything has to check off for the buyer in order to purchase. So you have to understand that, hey, this is a huge investment for your buyer. So you want to be with them. You want to be like water, just flow, just go with them. Hey, this house is good, great. Give them the pros and the cons, let them choose. Don't be too pushy, but do advise them. As a realtor, you do want to advise them, hey, this is what I truly think. But don't be pushy in order for them to just because you show them 50 houses expect that, hey, the 51 that they will purchase. And it really depends when you break up, when you say, hey, this is it, I'm not showing him anymore. The same agent that showed 100 properties exactly was 103 properties, and then he closed the deal, compared to this, just showing it two times. It was just his, he just didn't give up. So it's your job to see, when you want to give up. If you don't give up and you keep showing them, and the client is saying that, hey, this guy showed me, or this girl showed me 100 properties, of course I want to make an offer with her. So that relationship would comes with a lot of showings. Okay, always be there with them. When you're showing up, if the showing is scheduled for 10:30, be there 5 or 10 minutes beforehand. Okay, always be there on time. Have your business cards there with you at the showing, um, so you can be professional. And when you're showing them the property, just go room by room, and again, always give your honest opinion. Okay. Once you do enough of that, you will eventually go to step three, which is making an offer. Filling out the offer sheet and dot loop, which we reviewed the other day, and all the documents are there. You can have those printed out. Your buyers can actually sign them. You can scan it back in, upload it to dot loop, or you can just simply fill them out on dot loop and send it for e-signatures, right? The offer letter, agency disclosures, proof of funds, pre-approval letter, all these things that we went through, right? These are the four things that you need to make an offer, right? If you're missing one, there's a good chance that the listing agent is going to reply back to your email saying, hey, you're missing this piece here, proof of funds or pre-approval, right? Stay professional, know your steps, right? Hopefully, let's just say the same clients, you show them, 50 properties, you put in 10 offers. Out of those 10 offers, one got eventually gets accepted. You're on step number four, accepted offer, right? You want to schedule your home inspection. You always want to recommend to your buyer that, hey, let's schedule a home inspection, even though the listing agent might not fix anything. Just for your own good, you're about to make a purchase for $500,000. You should know that what's wrong in the house or the property, right? A lot of offers do go in without any inspections these days. Again, you can tell the listing agent, hey, we want to do a home inspection, not to negotiate, just to find out what's wrong with the property. Okay. You want to have a co-brokerage agreement signed. Uh, right now, we're going through a situation with another agent where the co-brokerage agreement is not being signed by the listing agent. He's saying that MLS is enough. MLS has the information, but once you're about to go under contract, our goal is to get the co-brokerage signed before the closing, right? If there's any major issues in the property, you do want to negotiate. Again, you're representing the buyer. You want to be on his or her side throughout the closing. If there's any major issues, let's just say the roof is really old and they need a roof replacement, and it might cost them $8,000 to $10,000. You probably want to go back to the listing agent and let them know the issue, right? Once both parties are on the same page, they want to move forward, the listing and the buyer side, you want to go to step five, which is under contract. And this is where your buyer would bring in the earnest deposit, right? As we spoke, we already wrote it on our sheet that, hey, this person is willing to put down $10,000 as earnest deposit to show how serious they are about the transaction. The higher the amount for the offer price, the higher that the earnest deposit that the listing agent would want. So for one family, $500,000 offer, they probably might be okay with $10,000. But if it's $1 million offer or 1.3, 1.2, they probably want to get 50,000, 60, $70,000, sometimes $100,000 as earnest deposit, right? And then the buyer would bring the rest of it on the closing. Okay. Both party has to sign. The buyer signs first with the earnest deposit. It goes to the listing agent side, to the attorney, right, for the seller. Then the seller would sign. Once both parties have signed, all parties have signed, it's fully executed contract, and the appraisal will be ordered, right, by the bank. They will also provide a commitment letter within a week or two as well, right? So this is from the bank side, the loan officer side. Both of these does not have anything to do with you, but know that the once the contract is fully executed, these are the two steps. These two steps, you probably want to have a good relationship with the loan officer as well, right? So you want to tell them, hey, we have a mutual client, right? Bob. And I took him to the contract. Now it's your job to take it to the closing, right? And you want to have a good relationship. And all loan officers want to have a good relationship with the realtors as well, because you probably want to give them more business. I just said they close this deal in 30 days. You probably want to use the same loan officer again, right? So it goes a long way. So keep open communication with the loan officer. Once they have provided the uh, clear to close, they're going to set up a closing, which is the step six, right? They will send you an email as an agent. Hey, we're saying that we're going to set up a closing for Monday at 3 p.m. at this attorney's office, right? They'll give you the address and the date and the time, right? You want to schedule a final walkthrough, want to make sure everything's good the way it was with the loan officer and your client. They want to review the CD, which is a closing disclosure, has the full breakdown of all the cost that your buyer is paying for that mortgage, right? And they should review all the documents before closing. And on closing, the attorney is going to be there. You should be at the closing as well. Because of COVID, there were times that some offices were not allowing realtors, but right now it's getting back to normal. So you should be there at the closing. When pretty much at the closing, your job is just to collect the check, because the attorneys are there from both sides. The bank is there at the closing, so you're just there for the support for your buyer, right? Take some pictures for your social media at the closing, um, and that's pretty much it, right? That is the closing day. That's when you get paid, right? So these are the steps. So you guys can talk to me. Let me know what questions you have, what you want me to go over a little bit more of.
Like, can I have one question, please?
Sure.
Yes, I have a client. Yesterday, I got a message from one of my client, the buyers,
Mm-hmm.
and she wanted to know about the property. She sent a text message to me with the address, and there was some message with this, some other agent, I guess. So I guess she was also working with some other agent, and she was trying to get this information from me too. When I asked her, so she said, "No, you are the only agent I'm working with." So in that conditions, can a buyer can work with two agents simultaneously?
They shouldn't work with two different agents. It really depends on who they sign the disclosure with. There can be a conflict, which we'll go over with Rupinder. We went through that. But if you're asking them, which is a good thing, a lot of agents don't even ask the buyer, "Are you working with another agent?" They simply just start working with them. If you ask them and they clearly said no, that you're the only one, I would take their word, show them the property, put in the offer, and go from there. You don't want to lose that client just because we are assuming that they're gonna go with someone else when they're not.
Good morning, Lucky. This is
Hey,
Hassan.
yeah, good morning.
Yeah, I just gave my, that I have a question. I'm in a contract with one of my client has
Mm-hmm.
a cash transaction. How and there's no loan originator involved in it. How do I
No,
find the How do I find the closing date? Because my client lawyer, the other seller lawyer, they keep sending me the email. Everything is done, the earnest deposit and everything. And I talked to my client yesterday. He said everything is done. I'm just waiting for the closing. I said, yeah, me too. So how do I find? Just wait for them or
yeah, you just gotta wait. Your right now, connection should be with your buyer's attorney, right? Because there's
yeah,
no bank involved, right? There's no
yeah,
loan officer, right?
yeah.
They're not doing any appraisal from
Hmm.
them, right? Nothing is being done. So
Yes.
it's all cash. The only thing that the attorney is waiting for is the title report, right?
Uh-huh.
The title report, they want to make sure it's a clean title. There's no issues with that.
That's
And
that issue is done because they keep sending me there's an entire report, there's a one of person name. They just take this name out and everything is done.
yeah,
And yeah, the question is the closing date. Where do I get my money? When it's gonna
yeah.
be?
Well, it's gonna be their attorney. They're gonna email you saying that,
It's
"Hey,
up to them.
Hassan, yeah, yeah."
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
it could be early next week if it's already in that process, because the closing on a cash deal typically
Mhm.
takes, less than 15 days to be realistic.
Yeah,
There's very slim chances that it will go over 15 days. That would be, because of the title. As you said, there's no issues with the title, then it
yeah.
should be going straight to the closing. And that's only depending on everybody's schedule. Both attorneys' schedule and the buyers and the sellers' schedule. But they will just shoot you an email when they're ready with that.
Sure. Yeah, I need to ask the question like 15 minutes ago, but I raised my hand in
Uh-huh.
the meeting
Yeah,
side,
I
but
see. I
you
see.
didn't know.
Yeah. No, but
Anyway,
you guys, this is open. Anybody can just,
I
unmute and
got
just
it.
start. Yeah, it's not a
I
problem. Yep.
understand that.
Stop me
Thank you,
anytime.
Lucky. Thank you
Yeah.
very much for that.
No
Yeah.
problem. Yep. All right. What else, guys? Anyone else going through any issues as a buyer's agent?
Yes, one more question, Lucky.
Sure.
Let's say the buyer has sent a property address to me and said he wants to see this property. When I showed him, and later I came to know that the same buyer has already seen this property with some other agent, but
Mm-hmm.
he didn't mention it to me. So in that condition means like if he already seen this with some other agent, he sees the property once more time with me. So in that scenario, who will be responsible for the commission for those closing sites?
Sure. What would be the reason that she's going with you to see the same property compared to, not making an offer or seeing that property again with the same old agent? What was that issue? Did you find that out?
Yeah, sometimes it's what I realize means most of the buyers they are not agree with the agent. They are not satisfied with the services. And it's happened to me. So they said they were working with some other agent, but the property they send is not good. I'm not satisfied, so I want to work with you. So I'm not sure means the property I want to show him is already been seen with some other agent or not. If in that case, so who will be responsible then?
Well, the conflict will only come, let's just say that if the other old agent gets to know this and now is saying that when you make an offer and he's going to say, hey, I already showed this property, but how would he know that? If your client is not, because as a buyer, buyers, they go to different agents all the time, right? It depends on who actually makes the offer and then has a relationship. If that same buyer saw the same property before, right, and not take any action and then called you to see the same property, that's, I usually don't see that action. Like, if that is the case, whoever puts in the first offer and whoever she signs the disclosures with, that's who's being, that's the agent that's going to be representing them,
Thank
right?
you.
Yeah, but if the same client signs both disclosures, right, to the both parties and you guys have a conflict, then the MLS or the state, they're gonna go with the one that she actually signed the disclosure first. They're gonna check the date. Whoever is signed first, that's the agent is gonna get the commission or should get the commission.
Yeah, I got it now. Sometimes
Mm.
they hide it, even though they signed some disclosure form or not. They never
Yeah.
mention to the agent.
Yeah, well, this, like I said, the conflict will only come up if you know it. Let's just say you're representing them, right? And you show them, and then they went to Hassan and they say, "Hey, Hassan, you show me the same property, and I wanna now all of a sudden, Muhammad showed me last week, and now you're showing me Hassan, and I like it." And they put in an offer with Hassan, and he can close a deal without you knowing, right? The only conflict will be when you know that, hey, this was my client, and then you would say, hey, this is my disclosure, it's already signed a week before you, then you would win that case.
Hmm.
Right?
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And Rupinder, you want to what you call it, tell us the situation that you had with your clients?
Yes. I've been showing so many houses to this client, and his brother was also working with me for last 5 months. So after after he saw 20 to 25 houses with me, one day he said that he likes a house in Queens Village. So I'm trying to schedule an appointment with the agent and the agent from SHV Realty. And she said that she's not available for these 2 days, today and tomorrow, and someone's gonna get back to me. But before she replied to me for the appointment, my client drove by and saw the sign and called her, and she said that, "Are you the buyer or the agent?" And my client said, "I'm the buyer." So she said, "Okay, stay there. I'll be there in 5 minutes." She showed her she showed him the property and signed the offer form right there and submitted the offer and sent out the contracts, deal sheet, and everything in one day. And I found out after 2 days that they are going in the contract with her as the buyers and sellers agent. So I tried to contact my client, but he stopped picking up my call. And I thought, let me call the agent. I called her, and she said that I'm not ready to work with you. And she said, he's my client now, and I'm going to close with him. I told her that I have disclosure signed, and she said, you can do whatever you want, but I'm going to close this deal. So now I spoke to Lucky about it, and we sent her an email and asked for an answer and within 48 hours. If she doesn't reply and still is going forward with this deal, then we are going to take a step.
Yeah. So the situation is like we can file a complaint to MLS, right? In this situation, because of the facts that she's saying, Rupinder was in touch with the buyer, scheduled the appointment, and then the listing agent got really greedy, and the she wants to make double commission. She want to be a dual agent. Uh, because the buyer did call the listing agent directly as well, but Rupinder has the signed disclosures. She had text messages that proves that she was sending messages to the listing agent to schedule an appointment, but because she's a agent and the listing agent wants to make double commission, she was ignoring her for for 2 days. Then all of a sudden the same client is going under contract with the listing agent. So it's definitely there's a few problems. That's why we are filing a complaint, or will file a complaint by tomorrow with MLS. But again, let's just say Rupinder didn't have the agency disclosure signed, then we would not be able to do much, right? But the lesson to be learned here is just basically make sure that we can get the disclosure signed quickly as possible, and explain to the buyers that hey, there are many benefits that that if I'm representing you, because the other agent, the listing agent, is already representing the seller, and they're going to think of for the seller all the way to the closing, right? And you have to, probably repeat yourself, tell them that, hey, I'm not making any money out of you. I can show you 50 houses, I can show you 100 houses. The listing agent and the seller will be paying me at the closing, but my job is to get you, the best property possible, right?
So when we start working with the client and we ask them to sign the disclosures, they get scared in the beginning. They don't want to sign anything. And for
Yeah,
that, I think the best way is when you start showing them houses with the, like first or second house, push them
yeah,
towards like putting in an offer, because we when you put in an offer, then it's a good time to get the disclosure signed. So
yep,
with your first or second showing, have them put in an offer. Like just tell them, let's try for this
yeah.
one, and if this doesn't work out, then we can see other ones.
Yeah, that's a really valid point. Yeah, instead of putting in a full asking price offer, just knowing just to save your back, put in an offer that, it could be, lowball offer, but this way you have the agency disclosure signed, and you know that, you're representing this client, right? And how about if the listing agent is not, I think another thing to learn is, if the listing agent is not replying to your text messages and you're trying to schedule it, I think let's call the office just to see what's going on. Let's not wait 2, 3 days, because the listing agent, again, they're just trying to make the double commission.
Hey, Lucky, I just have a question. So, are we sending the agency disclosure to the buyer's attorney as well?
Yeah, you should definitely, that disclosures, you should send it to, first you should send it with the offer letter, right, to the listing agent. And then let's just say your offer does get accepted, then you want to send the offer letter, the agency disclosure, the pre-approval, and along with the co-brokerage and the deal sheet, right, to your buyer's attorney. So he or she knows that you're representing this client, and they have a heads up, because the contract will be going to the that same attorney.
Okay, thank you. And
Yeah.
my next question regarding co-ops, who provides the information regarding the house rules, the offering plans, and the maintenance bill? Would that come from the seller?
It's a co-op. You're talking about co-op?
Yeah, a
Yeah,
co-op.
yeah. Either the board, the person that's in touch, the property management team, any of those should have all this information. Or if you don't have that information, listing agent is any question that you have for that transaction. You want to make sure that the listing agent is in the loop. And if he says, "Hey, contact this person," then you do that. But always first ask your listing agent.
Okay, because I'm actually going through a closing with a co-op, but the listing agent doesn't seem to know much. So he's just telling me to contact the person that handles the board application for all the
Yeah,
information.
then
Like,
that's your best contact. Yeah, just make sure the person that you're talking to them from the board management, the property management, right? um Basically keep in touch with them until the closing, because that's the person that's going to say, hey, I need this document, I need this document, down the road, if necessary. So you want to keep in touch with them.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, especially if the listing agent is telling you he doesn't know much about it. Maybe this is his first co-op, or if he doesn't do much co-op, you don't want to lose that deal just because he doesn't know it. So just try to be proactive and stay in touch with the management team.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys. Any other questions? Questions, concerns? As a buyer's agent, any question that you think that the buyer will ask you cannot answer? Any steps? When does the commitment letter is provided, when the appraisal is ordered, any of those?
Hey, so talking about the agency disclosure form.
Uh-huh.
So if if the buyer doesn't want to put like an offer in after a few houses or anything like that, what do you suggest is the best way to get one done?
To get
Just
the
ask them.
Yeah, you can ask them. I mean, we have some agents that's really experienced and they don't even show any houses, and they explain to them, hey, I'm devoted to you. I'm going to be showing you many houses. And they're really confident, and they have that disclosure already pre-filled, and they give them with a pen. It's like, hey, just, I have seen it many times, and the buyers would sign it. It really depends on how aggressive you are. But again, as a buyer, some of them just feel like, hey, I just known you for like 5 seconds. How I'm gonna sign this? You know what I mean? That's the only thing. Once you have built relationships, they would sign it. But it really depends on you as an agent, how aggressive you want to be.
Okay, so suppose they don't want to, even after they sign and they change their mind. What's what's the process in that?
I mean,
Like
they
let's just
could
say
do
they,
that. Yeah, yeah, that could happen too. They signed the agency disclosure. Like I said, the conflict would only come, if you as an agent, you have an agency disclosure signed, and then you find out that particular client is going somewhere else. If you don't know it, there's not much you can do. There's only like when you find out, and then again, we can file a complaint with MLS and say, hey, and then MLS usually looks at the dates, whoever they signed first, just like any on the seller side, whoever signs, they sign the exclusive agreement with. As a buyer, is whoever the form is signed by the buyer. uh Whoever the date is first, basically. you know they can sign it with three different people, four different people, and they probably go to Remax, Keller Williams, different agents, different agencies, and sign them. um, you know but if you do find out, then you have a case if you have a signed disclosure. The whole point of disclosure is to know that, hey, you're representing them, and when did you start that relationship. Make
okay,
sense? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but then again, it comes down to, I think personally, me, like all these deals that I've done, it's just on the relationship. Some of these clients will sign it right away, no problem. Some of them, it will even give you a hard time, all the way up to the offer letter. So it really depends on the individuals.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions, guys? All right. If there's no questions, I'll wait for you guys. You guys can start leaving one by one.
Thank you, Lucky.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Take care.